there's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until now. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until now.
Good evening, viewers. My name is Ima Elijah, and I'm thrilled to welcome you back to Paul's 2003 governorship election coverage, where we'll be keeping a very close eye on the highly anticipated democratic event. As we all know, this is a very crucial period in Nigerian political landscape, and we're here to bring you the up-to-minute, insightful analysis and engaging interviews with our electorate. And of course, I'm not here alone in this endeavor. I'm joined by my esteemed co-host, the one and only Nuruddin Shotayo, with years of experience in journalism and his deep understanding of Nigerian political landscape. Nuruddin brings a wealth of expertise and insightful knowledge to our coverage. So, Nuruddin, I'm going to be so excited to be working with Nuruddin today as we navigate this very exciting period in Nigerian politics. So you sit back, relax, and stay tuned as we bring you all the latest updates and analysis in the 2023 governorship elections. Hi, Nuruddin.
Hi, Ima.
How are you doing? How's everything?
Yeah, I've been fine. Last time we're here, we're talking about the presidential and National Assembly elections. And 3 weeks after.
We are here 3 weeks after. You know, it was supposed to be like 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
And then there was the whole postponing thing. So, like, basically, the presidential elections have caused a lot of conversation for even the governorship elections. And we're going to be, I mean, between us that have been reporting the news on a daily basis, we've seen all the drama that has stemmed down. And we're going to talk about, you know, a couple of states today. So, but so far, like, your general vision, like, you're just your general feel.
There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until now. no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until now.
Absolutely. I think you are right to the point that there were issues or incidents of voter suppression. And like you said, so one thing about elections in Nigeria is that politicians don't really like a fair contest, a contest where they can't, manipulate to their advantage is always a threat to them. In the past, like you rightly said, in the past, you have funny issues of ballot stuffing, overvoting in some polling units. You have cancellation of results, manipulation of results, and of course, you have all sorts of prints on the ballot paper, palm kernel, and all sorts. So, but with the introduction of beavers now, you can't do that again. But one thing INEC cannot completely eliminate from our electoral process on their own is the issue of politicians' desperation to game the system. Politicians would always find a way to want to take an undue advantage of the system. And that is why you have issue of voter suppression. Because with the introduction of beavers now, you can't stuff ballot papers. What used to happen in the past, and what I've also witnessed in some elections that I've been privileged to participate in, is that once voting ends in a particular polling unit, and then there are ballot papers, blank ballot papers that were not unprinted, then you would have party agents, trying to bribe INEC officials so that they can print on those. So, and then they will inflate figures in those polling units. That's why you have in previous elections you have fictitious figures.
And this time around it was easy for them to detect overvoting.
This time around you can do that actually, but beavers would expose you. And that is what happened in Osun State, where in some polling units the number of accredited voters were actually less than the number of votes. So which led to the tribunal judgment that we had. So I think politicians are now finding, and they've devised another way to manipulate the electoral process, which is voter suppression. It's kind of systemic. That's why you have, for instance, during the presidential election, you have INEC officials arriving at polling units late. I mean, to the best of my understanding, if you are a politician and you have influence in some areas, and you know that if everybody comes out in that area to vote, your party might not win. So you might want to buy INEC officials over and then ask them to stay back a little bit or just do some kind of funny things. And another thing they do is to create crisis in areas when they know that their opponents are very strong and there's a strong presence of supporters of their opponent that are ready to cast their vote. And because once there's a crisis in any polling unit, what INEC does is to cancel the result from those polling units. And elections, voting can only be reorganized for that particular polling unit if the number of voters or the number of people that collected their PVCs is enough to change the outcome of the election. But in a presidential election, you can do that in pockets of spaces at the state level. Then when it gets to the federal level, there's little INEC can do. Because
they've already collected it from
the state, and you have registration, what they call state electoral officers at the state level that oversees the whole process. So, like you said, in the past, what we used to have were not the actual number of people that came out to vote. But with beavers now, I think we now add the actual number of people that came out to vote. So what looked like a reduction in voter turnout might not be so in real sense of it, because in the past, all those votes, all those numbers that were recorded were not human beings that printed. So, and if you also now factor in voter suppression, crises in pocket of places, you will know that the turnout was really impressive. Should be more than what we had at the end of the day.
All right. Very well said, Nuruddin.
Yeah.
As we gear up for the highly anticipated governorship elections taking place across Nigeria on March 18th, there's a lot of buzz and anticipation in the air. With 28 states set to hold governorship elections, we are in for an exciting, potentially game-changing political landscape. And tonight, we actually want to focus on the states that will be the center of attraction during these elections tomorrow. Every political party has put their best foot forward, and we will be watching closely to see the outcome of the states or in these races.
Yeah.
So the first state I would like us to actually consider is Oyo State. And, Oyo has been in a lot of conversations because of Makinde. First of all, the current sitting governor, Seyi Makinde, is in the PDP. However, was among the G5 group, the Wike friends, Wike and cohorts, the uniform boys, the Ashwebi boys. That's
G5.
Ashwebi boys, that's what people online call them. Our audience call them Ashwebi boys, so I refer to them as Ashwebi.
All right.
So Wike was part of the Ashwebi boys. And from the Ashwebi boys, there were about 3 of them that had senatorial ambitions.
Yeah.
And those 3 have not gotten their senatorial ambitions.
They have luled.
They what? They are what?
They have luled.
They have luled. That is it. And now we have Wike, who was the leader, wasn't vying for any position. He wanted to be president, but that didn't work from the primary level. And we have Seyi Makinde now, who is the last person who we are looking up to. I'll be looking forward to saying, if others did not win their own, all the others that were against Atiku did not get what they were vying for, what makes you think you will actually go back for a second term? And the most interesting thing about Oyo State is that there's only one governor ever that has ever actually gone back for a second term. Oyo State has a history of they don't want to mess with you a second time, basically. So only the late Ajimobi had made it for a second term, and there's now tension in the air with the PDP G5 crisis and Seyi Makinde, and there's also alleged inference that he supported the APC, he supported Tinubu in the presidential elections, which then results to anti-party activities. So the PDP is supposed to be sanctioning, the rest of G5 for something, while Seyi Makinde is running for something. How do you think that all the commotion, all the stress, how do you think that is going to actually affect his actual chances of winning the state governorship elections tomorrow?
Wow. Seyi Makinde is working on a very tightrope right now. Like you rightly said, Oyo State has this history of not voting for governors for second time, and the only person that has been able to break that jinx was the late Senator Abiola Ajimobi. And there were a lot of factors that came into play that made that possible, actually. You could say in 2015 when he went for his re-election, that was the time Buhari came on board, and the APC just came on board, a new party, and there's this wave that everybody was moving towards the direction of the APC, and they had a lot of buzz in the southwest that would, we can say that actually helped Ajimobi on that occasion as well. But this time around, Seyi Makinde is swimming against the tide, because that is history on the one hand, and then you have the little issue of alleged anti-party, even though he didn't come out to state categorically that he worked for Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. But what they didn't hide is the fact that they are not, he and his other colleague governors, aggrieved governors of the PDP, what they didn't hide was the fact that they were not going to work for Atiku Abubakar. And if you look at what happened during the presidential election and the result that came out of Oyo State, you can say, and some political watchers have also alleged that Seyi Makinde mobilized his full soldiers to vote for Asiwaju, but that really backfired, badly, even during that presidential election, because even though Asiwaju won in Oyo State, PDP in Oyo State lost all the senatorial contests, all the 3 senatorial districts, they lost it to APC. So Teslim Folarin, the candidate of the APC, the governorship candidate of the APC, Teslim Folarin, is hoping to cash in on that momentum that APC got during the presidential election. And a lot of, intrigues have played out in the past 3 weeks or so. There've been a lot of handshakes across different parties. You had endorsement here and there, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to save Seyi Makinde. I seriously, I'm looking forward to what is going to happen tomorrow, because some PDP members, like you said, were not really happy with the role he played during the presidential election. We don't know who he worked for, but he said it that after the election that he was satisfied that a southerner emerged as a president, so you could see through his heart. So going into his own election now, there are some elements of the PDP in the southwest. The secretary, don't let me quote the wrong person, but a shifting of the PDP in the southwest, I read last week, and I think I did a story on it, said they were disappointed because Seyi Makinde left his decision to allegedly work for Tinubu in the presidential election till last minute. He kept saying, he's not going to touch the presidential election, that people can go and vote for whoever they want. But in the last minute, he showed his hand. So some PDP members in the southwest are not really happy with him. But then the person said, that shouldn't be enough, or that shouldn't be used to influence or judge what's going to happen in the governorship election. So he's really fighting for his life here, in a
literally his life, because if he loses it,
I mean, if he loses it, then it's a huge joke, big joke on the G5.
But then again, I mean, it's a joke on the G5, but also a win to those parts of the G5 that worked for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Because at the end of the day, if Seyi Makinde and Wike worked for Tinubu, not if they worked for Tinubu, if they worked for Tinubu, and then Tinubu actually attained, the presidential, maybe they may not have what they wanted in terms of these particular elections. But can you say we should look forward to an appointment or some kind of compensation for actually him delivering or your state?
It's
because
bigger
he
than
did.
that.
It's bigger than that?
It's bigger than that.
Please tell me, enlighten me.
So it's all about, the fight is all about the soul of the party itself, the PDP. Because everybody knows that. I mean, if you've been following Nigerian politics, you would know that the moment Atiku Abubakar loses an election, then he retires back to his home in Dubai. So that is what he does, right? And then he comes back, shows up again during the next election, and then just, bully everybody and
Betty, but okay.
and always make his way to the ballot. Yeah. So, but right now we don't even know where this current election is going to end up. We don't know what all the main opposition parties are challenging the outcome in court. We don't know how that is going to go. But if at the end of the day Atiku does not get his wish, I foresee a situation whereby he would be more uninterested in whatever happens to the PDP. Then the fight is now left for those who are really interested in taking over the party, which is the same scenario that played out after the 2015 presidential election, when Goodluck Jonathan lost, and then there was nobody to act as the arrowhead of the party or the reference person. So that is what I think the G5 governors, politically, I mean, in terms of election, they might have lost, but politically, they could still find themselves to be relevant. But it depends on how they play the politics. If at the end of the day, Atiku doesn't get the presidency, then the PDP is just there for anybody that is willing to take it. And I think that's what the G5 are gunning for at the end of the day. And, having or getting an appointment or some kind of favor from the president-elect will just be an icing of the cake on the cake for them.
Oh, I can imagine. Very well said. Yeah. So let's shift focus a little bit to another state. Let's say Adamawa State. Adamawa, the governorship election in Adamawa State has come to like a very tight two-horse race with the PDP candidate who is literally defending his seat, Umaru Fintiri, and we have the APC candidate who is Aisha Binani. And like Oyo State, Adamawa is also known for not serving the same master twice. Adamawa is also known for voting out sitting governors. And if that happens in this particular situation, then we have Binani actually like going to sit on that seat. Imagine. By the way, Binani is female. Happy Independence Women's Month. So, I mean, I've called my bias there, but
it's fine.
But if that happens in Adamawa State, that I don't know if a woman has ever governed Adamawa State before.
No state in Nigeria has been governed by
a woman, and that would literally break history. How do you think that Binani winning Adamawa would change how do you think it's going to change the political landscape, one, of the North, two, of Nigeria in general?
I mean, if it's going to be a big win.
It will be a very big win
for women, actually.
Especially this month.
You know. There's been this call for more women inclusion, or inclusion of women in politics in Nigeria. And it's just so sad that in the just concluded elections for the National Assembly, I think we have about 5 female senators elected. And there's also a clamor for this 35% affirmative action, whereby you have women occupying 35% of government appointments and all of that.
Which of them? Is it the other Buhari's legislation or this particular? Because this particular one we are talking about, there are only 3 women in the Senate now. That one, yes.
Oh, it's even 3.
And
right?
you know,
I know.
First Lady elect said she's not going back. They said she's going to be.
No, she's not going. She didn't even contest in the first place.
Exactly.
I know. In Lagos State, we had one from Lagos.
There's one from Lagos. There's one from FCT.
We have one from FCT, Kinjibe.
Yes.
Then we have another one.
And I think the FCT one is even a Labour Party.
Yeah, it's a Labour Party. Yeah.
Yeah. So Labour Party has installed its first senatorial woman, its first female senator
elect. Yeah. So it's going to be a big win for women to start with, and it just. For the North, it just goes to show that they are probably more enlightened politically than those of us. It's more than we want to be.
There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until. Not a single soul has voted up until now. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until now. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until now.
Held in Nigeria, and it was pretty silent. So I don't know how I can measure the Kwankwaso followership with the Ganduje followership and kind of like pitch these two against each other and wonder who will come out as the Kanu godfather or the Kanu king or the king in Kanu. Aside from, of course, the emir.
Even Ganduje is a product of Kwankwaso.
Literally, do you understand?
Because Ganduje was
he was installed by Kwankwaso
deputy between 2011 and 2015, and it was Kwankwaso that actually installed him. So, in terms of political weight in Kano State, Ganduje doesn't come close to Kwankwaso, and that's pretty obvious, right? It showed in the last presidential election. In 2019, Ganduje got away with the skin of his teeth, right? What's it called?
Is the shot you're firing from? Like I just
He got away by the skin of his teeth, right? I mean, it's pretty open, right? It's there. It's in the open. We all saw what happened in the 2019 governorship election. It was so close. Ganduje, almost lost the election until there was until the election ran into an inconclusive mode and a supplementary election had to be, arranged. And then Ganduje quickly went to the community where the supplementary election was going to be held, and then did one or two things, gave them, I think, transformer or just do some sort of empowerment for that community. But all that is history now. But in the 2019,
he's giving what's this guy's name?
He's giving Desmond. So yeah, 2023, Ganduje, Kwankwaso has shown everyone who is the king in Kano, who is the king of Kano politics. And he didn't just pull the numbers in the presidential election. His party won 2 out of 7 territorial seats in that state, and they won 17 out of, I think, 24 House of Rep seats in Kano State. So he basically dominated the election in Kano. And, some people have derided him as the president of Kano. So I don't know if that's also going to come to play tomorrow. The NNPC candidate was the same person that ran against Ganduje in 2019. Even though Ganduje had the luck of the incumbent then, it was very close. So imagine Ganduje not being on the ticket right now. Even though the APC candidate in this election is the current deputy governor, Yusuf Gawuna, but then again, it's still a Ganduje pick at the end of the day, because it's going to back his man all the way. But then again, the factors, again, that usually determine voting pattern in presidential election are always very different in governorship election. But for Kano, I don't know if that is going to happen, because it's like Kwankwaso has taken over everywhere now, and the APC are just, Ganduje is just struggling, is just trying to see if he can get his candidates over the line. So it's going to be if I'm going to call it, I'll call it for NNPP, but I don't do political punditry anyway. So, but if you want me to call it, I'll call it for NNPC. NNPP, because in 2019, Abba, that's the candidate of NNPP, sorry, Abba Gida, that's how they call him. He came very close, and now you have the candidate. I mean, the Concoso factor for him, working for him, and the fact that he's not running against an incumbent, he's running against a deputy. So all those things might be working in NNPP's favor, and Kano might be turning yellow on the map.
Very well said. I guess that is what we should expect from Kano, because Kano is literally at this point a country of its own.
Exactly.
Let's move over to Rivers State.
Almighty Rivers.
Let's move over to Rivers State. First of all, from presidential elections, there was the whole thing. There were a lot of allegations online about how a lot of polling units were rigged, sort of. And however, with all those allegations, what we saw in the results was that the APC won Rivers State. And we've had Wike come out. I mean, Wike took his time before coming out to talk. He allowed people to, buzz and came out and started telling people, I wasn't working against everybody. I'm not working as everybody. As they sweet people, they pay me. As they sweet you, they pay you, they sweet me. He was just doing his own. He said, Wike has said a lot of things. He said that he supported a southern candidate, irrespective of whether that was Obi or Tinubu. He said that he has not worked against Obi. In fact, he even reminded us that he offered Obi logistics. He reminded the world that he offered Obi logistics. How can he be working against Obi and then offering who is running under the Labour Party? Yeah, Beatrice. But there was a situation where a fraction of the Labour Party endorsed another candidate,
PDP.
The PDP candidate.
It's not a faction, it's the state executive.
I will still call it a faction, because the national LP distanced themselves from that.
They actually dissolved that.
And dissolved the entire state cabinet. And that has left me in a limbo. I don't know, you update me, maybe you're more, where is the female LP candidate now in all of this?
She's still on the ballot. She's
on the ballot, but not having a state council. There's no state body pushing her. It's now the national body. Which national body, at the end of the day, are they really present in the state to give her as much support as she'd need for tomorrow?
I don't know if the presence they have on ground now would be enough for her. But the honest truth is that they have a caretaker committee in place, being spearheaded by Hilda Dokubo in Rivers after the dissolution of the executives that endorsed Sim Fubara of the PDP. I don't know how the Labour Party is going to affect the election in Rivers. To be honest,
I'm not even talking about them affecting the. I mean, if I want to be very honest, I don't really expect them to affect the Rivers State election. But I'm thinking about her from. I mean, maybe from a human perspective. I'm actually thinking about it like, okay, I'm a woman and I'm running for stuff, and the state, my party statesmen, from my party are not supporting me, but the nationals are supporting me, and the governorship election is tomorrow. I do need people rallying around me. I imagine that certain state candidates, governorship candidates, have people in their house right now. They're probably like talking one or two. Some are probably in church or holding hands praying.
It's not about the structure.
Exactly. Now there's no structure in Rivers State.
You can't say there's no structure. What I'm saying is, so the state executive is one structure of the party on ground, but you also have the presidential campaign council at state level, which is a separate body entirely from the state executive. So
that's enlightening.
So they are still on ground, but you really can't tell who they are working for, because politicians are very funny, right? And so I think the Rivers election, why I think Labour Party might still be a factor, and I understand the part where the woman might feel like a lonely figure right now, because you really don't have all the support that you would expect to have at the state level. But then there's a wave, sort of, in Rivers State. It is widely believed that the election in Rivers State the presidential election in Rivers State was won by Obi, by Labour Party, and allegedly somebody rigged in favor of the party that eventually wins.
Somebody.
You can fill in the gap. So I was saying, so now they might be out to prove a point, right? They might be able to prove a point. But then again, will they have enough number to actually win the election? Because
but what if
everything seems fractured now.
Yeah.
PDP looks fractured. Of course, Wike is in control, but we cannot also rule out the fact that there are some elements in the PDP that are disgruntled
about what Wike did.
Wike's,
support for APC
for a different party in the presidential election, and they are waiting for him in the governorship election. He knows that. He did his state broadcast yesterday, and you could tell from the broadcast that he's under pressure. You could tell. I love. Shout out to Brivers, right? Shout out to Brivers. Everybody is campaigning. You can, introduce fictitious figures. Yeah. So now, then you have the APC on the other hand, which Amechi is heading in the states. Amechi being a former governor and also a former minister, is supporting his candidate Tony Cole of the APC. They are also determined to take the state from Wike, and it was alleged, I don't think. Wike said it, that, in fact, he said it again in the broadcast he did yesterday, that Amechi and Tony Cole of the APC worked against the APC in the presidential election. So I'm sure a lot of politics going on. I don't know who worked for who, right? But the APC in Rivers State right now are also out to take their own pounds of flesh on Wike in the governorship election. So on the one hand, you have the Labour Party effect. Then you have the APC. Then you have the
PDP that is still divided.
The pro-Wike PDP, and then
anti-Wike,
the anti-Wike, the likes of Lima Eba, Uche Secondus, and the rest of them that are also waiting for him. So I heard that those ones are working with the APC. So at the end of the day, it depends on who the people want the most that would win, provided the election is free, on who the people want the most. Fair. It depends on
if the people came online and said they wanted LP for presidential and then they did not get LP.
That's what I'm saying. If the election is free, fair, and credible, but the way it is right now, it's a 3-horse race in a way. Let me put Labour Party in that mix because they can play the spoiler. If at the end of the day, the Labour Party candidates can agree to work with. I didn't even mention the I think SDP candidate because he's also strong. Magnus Abe. He left the APC to join join SDP. So his factor might hurt the APC because he's also a strong figure in the APC. So APC might be losing some votes in that aspect. But if all these opposition could come together before tomorrow, I don't know if it's possible. I think they did a rally together today. Lulu Briggs, another candidate from another party, Toye Cole and Magnus Abe. The rally was just basically to send a signal to Wike that he can't intimidate him and all of that. So I don't know if that's going to lead to a consensus before midnight today or tomorrow election day. But let's see how it goes.
Everybody should be in their house by midnight. That's all I can say, Sha.
Yeah.
So let's actually, still on Rivers, I want us to explore this cat and dog relationship with Wike and Amechi. Because we've seen in the last week, there's been a lot of back and forth from them. And we know that these two men have their candidates that they are pushing forward. Like you said, Amechi is not necessarily working for the APC in the presidential.
I didn't say that. That's what Wike said.
That's what Wike said. Well, in the governorship elections, he's working for his party, and Wike is working for his party, right? So, I want us to explore really and this is away from even this 2023 elections, because the rivalry between Wike and Amechi has been going on for years. It just happens to like that again. They have a reason to be at odds and to talk about themselves in the media. So let's go back to history. What were the key issues and grievances that caused this conflict, this cat and dog relationship between Wike and Amechi?
It's just politics. It's politics. So these are guys who were
both governors.
No. What I'm saying is, what I was going to say is, these are guys who were actually political allies before. In 2007, when Wike became the governor, he was the one that actually nominated Amechi. I'm sorry, when Amechi became the governor in 2007, he was the one that actually nominated Wike for his ministerial appointments in Abuja. So when Wike got to Abuja, as sharp man, he started, making his own political moves as well. And then you remember the issue he had with Wike had with the former first lady, Patience Jonathan, right? So there was an issue then, and then Amechi was going to, contested to be the chairman of the Nigeria's Governors Forum. The presidency then, Jonathan wanted someone else. So there was this issue of 16 greater than 19 in the situation where Amechi actually won the majority of votes, but then somebody that won, that got 16 votes was recognized as the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum. So that really pissed Amechi off. Then he pitched his tent with the APC that was just formed at the time. And that was the point of departure between Wike and Amechi. Because Wike stayed back in the PDP and Amechi proceeded with the APC. So the enmity started. In 2015, Wike ran for governorship. Amechi was on his way out. He supported a candidate, Peter Saidakuku, in 2015. But Wike managed to snatch a victory because traditionally Rivers is a PDP state. So that was the whole cat and dog thing between Wike.
There's no ink to vote. And not a single soul has voted up until. There's no ink to vote. And not a single soul has voted up until. There's no ink to vote. And not a single soul has voted up until.
Want to entrust the governance. Why would I want to? I mean, not that I can't judge, because I've not seen what she can do, but I've seen what she can do in Nollywood. So in terms of a movie script, if I want to give like proper deals, I know where to go to. But why would you be planning for this thing 8 years? And for 8 years, you didn't think about who, because there was the GRV factor. We've interviewed GRV's deputy, who was also in the race to even being Jando's deputy as well. In fact, as early last year, she was almost even campaigning to be the actual governorship candidate for PDP. So there were these options that were already party affiliated. Very good options also, because I feel very good options because as of now, we find Nigerians rallying around these same people who you had, walked away from. I judge his choice of, I think, to say the least, I think I've said the most, but now to finally summarize, I judge his choice of deputy candidate. I don't think it was like the wisest choice for him to have made if he really wanted this thing. I felt like, in fact, when I saw it, I felt like, you know what, maybe this guy just wants, he doesn't believe in himself. I don't think he believes he can win Sanwo-Olu. So he just wants to, shake up a little bit, get his media time. That was what I thought about it. But I think now stepping back, with GRV coming, GRV went to Obi's house. He showed up at parties, and the people were expecting Sanwo-Olu to also show up at Kilox or something like that. But yeah, there's this there's a three-man horse race. And then we also have the ADC candidate, who is not so distant in terms of conversation. He's in conversation, but not obviously like all this. What do you think, basically? All I'm saying, what should we expect? What should we expect from Echo that will not budge?
By God's grace. Lagos. Quite a very close race that we're going to have on now, and I was hoping for a more interesting race because I thought after the presidential election, I thought GRV and Jando would find a middle ground and just decide to work together. That would have given APC, more that would have been a bigger threat for the APC, right? I mean, but then again, politicians are always very greedy. They are always very they all believe that they have the capacity, they have the support, the followership to win the election until it is done on them. I mean, it's going to be a very, very difficult call. What you said about Jando's choice of deputy, I mean, you might be looking at some other metrics, because most of the times politicians don't just take this decision. They might have done some kind of survey or anything. He got this calculation wrong. In my opinion, I agree with you as well. And I don't think it's about picking a Nollywood person. I don't think that is what is wrong. I think it's about picking someone that has not been active in the political scene. So if it's... I
was still not willing to be active while running for office.
Do you understand? So there's that, of course. And then there's also this wave of Labour Party that he didn't see coming. I'm sure the time because there was an interview he granted, and he explained his side of the story why GRV could not emerge as his deputy. He said Chief Bode George, the PDP chieftain in Lagos, tried to broker a deal between himself and GRV before the PDP primaries. And the arrangement was that Jando was going to be the governor and GRV was going to be the deputy governor. And then he said on the day of the primary, even on the eve of the primary, GRV was still scheming to become the candidate. So he didn't trust him enough. On the day of the election, he was expecting GRV to step down because other aspirants actually stepped down for Jando in that primary, but GRV did step down. So it felt like for GRV to give him that sort of competition, he can't trust him enough to be deputy. And that's why he turned down the opportunity to choose him. I could understand it from a politics point of view, right? But now GRV left, he catching on the wave of the Labour Party, and he has the fact that Labour Party won Lagos State in the governorship election has sort of, gave him an edge over Jando in this governorship race. And you could see that a lot of talks, a lot of conversation, a lot of momentum seems to be on his side right now. And then most of the things you hear from Jando these days is, I'm not stepping down, I've not stepped down.
Just talking about other people.
Just talking about other people. Basically, he's been everywhere in the media trying to, ramp up his own campaign as well. It's really a tough job for him.
It's a really tough
But it's even a tougher job for the governor.
Oh yes, let's even talk about that. How do you think someone is assimilating all this competition? Because I can bet that like as of December last year, like someone was sure like
before the presidential election, actually.
Before that's December.
He thought it was going to be a walk in the park, and I think it really took Lagos voters for granted, in my opinion, because there's this thing that they refused to do before the presidential election. It was not everywhere like this.
Yes.
It was not as visible as it is. Some people have argued
he was more visible somewhere else.
Some people have argued
other
that
campaigns,
campaigning for Tinubu's presidency actually affected him, but I don't think that's the case.
I don't think that's
to be honest. I think it could have been more visible in Lagos State, going to places. I mean, yesterday it was in Alimosho. It was everywhere. It's been everywhere these days. That is what he was meant to be doing as a governor in Lagos State. You are running for a re-election. The fact that we might, some people may agree that you have actually performed, but in politics, your performance sometimes don't get you re-elected. It is the sentiments
of the people.
Of the people. It is what they think about your performance that gets you re-elected. And I think they really dropped the ball before the presidential election by really not actively going out to campaign and to mobilize.
Thinking that they had Lagos in the bag.
They just felt that they had Lagos in the bag, and they probably thought, because Tinubu is the city boy in quotes, and then everybody was just going to follow that wave. And they realized that, wait, I think we got it wrong. And then since then, they've been able to, inject more life in their campaign, making alliances and all of that. So
I also think, apart from even taking the Lagos voters for granted, I feel like the Lagos electorate were trying to make a statement. I feel like there's a sentiment in Lagos that is, from interacting with people around, there's a sentiment in Lagos, although those who, and honestly speaking, I need people to understand that it's not even a problem. If you benefit personally from a party's win, that's where your interest lies, so you follow there naturally. So most people I converse with that want the APC to win, there's personal interest in there, and other people it's more like, they've ruled too long, I'm tired of people thinking that they can just own a city, like no party can own a city. So that's a
sentiment I don't like personally. I don't like the sentiment of people saying, because they've been in power for so long, and so what? If there are states in America that traditionally it's GOP that always win governorship elections. I can't remember now. It's about performance, and as much as some people may want to disagree that Lagos is not what the governor or the government or the APC would want you to believe it is, Lagos still remains the best state in Nigeria in every parameter.
Factual.
In every parameter of development, actually, Lagos still remains the best place and the best state in Nigeria. And if you want to go by, if you want to judge the performance of the governor based on what he has done in the space of 4 years that he has had, you can't score him less than average. To be honest, you can't score him less than average, right?
But average is about it, or a little beyond average, fine.
Yeah. So, but for you to now say, you want to vote this person out simply because his party has been in power for so long, that is so unfair to the person, and it is against what democracy should be. So we want to vote out someone, and then let's just bring any other person but him. Right? I'm not condemning. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to downplay the capability of other contestants in the district. I'm just limiting my arguments to the context of the sentiments out there that I want to vote this person out because his party has been in power. I don't think that's a wise
good reason,
a wise sentiment to go with.
To be honest, and there are a number
of reasons that you can vote out a governor.
If he's not doing well,
and all that.
To be honest, and I'm going to, as we wrap up this particular program, I'm going to add something there. From the whole wave of we're not voting parties any longer. I personally, and I was saying this to someone, I'm beginning to see the whole thing of people now choosing to vote a party. At the end of the day, we're tired of the APC, but we're not voting people based off of competence. People end up voting people based off of, especially actually
sentiment has taken over.
Sentiment has actually still. So at the end of the day, even when we're saying, oh, we're doing person politics, not party, at the end of the day, we're still back to party politics. Because if we're talking about person politics, then there are certain people. Person politics is strictly about your antecedents, your experiences, what you've achieved in time past. And if somebody does not have what they have achieved in time past to show, then automatically, you can't just be voting person. That means you're voting. If you vote that person, it's out of sentiment.
Exactly.
So for me now, and obviously people, I just wish people can understand their choices and take it with their full chest and not try to form like some badass arguments that actually wouldn't fly. Because if you actually just vote this person, I would rather you tell me you're actually tired of party and then you vote your person. But don't tell me about like experiences and antecedents, because or don't tell me you're not doing you're not doing party politics, you're doing person politics. You did person politics. Most people did person politics in the presidential, but in terms of the House of Reps, in terms of senatorial, a lot of that was party politics.
I mean, we could see the effects.
We could see the effects
to the point that they were even. I mean, we've seen the conversation online about the outcome of the Etios House of Assembly election, where some people actually regretted the fact
some people went to drag this man online.
And even,
a Nollywood actor called him to come and give statements.
I found that so ridiculous.
No, it's not just like these people have been acting too many films. They think that real life is now film. Anyways, guys, let's wrap it up for today. That brings us to the end of today's program. I hope you enjoyed being updated with us in terms of what is going to be happening tomorrow. Tomorrow, of course, is the 2023 governorship elections happening in 28 states. And we will be covering it live. And we'll be back here again tomorrow to kind of like analyze whatever it is that we went out to see on the field. So please join us tomorrow as well. I am Ima Elijah, and with me, of course, is Nuruddin. And this is Pulse. Thank you so much.
There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until. There's no ink to vote. Not a single soul has voted up until.